Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Federico Talks Watches. Now before we get started, a quick little announcement. Today is the last day to enter my 10,000 subscriber giveaway. I'll leave a link to the video right up top. All you have to do is go watch that video, drop a like, and leave a comment, and of course subscribe, and you will be entered to win some great prizes. Everything from watch winders to a few different NATO straps. I will be announcing the winners tomorrow, so today is the last day. Don't miss it. Now, today is going to be a shorter little episode of Federico Talks Watches, but I want to answer a question that's come up quite a bit recently, and that is buying vintage watches versus buying new watches. There's quite a difference. In honor of this video, today I'm wearing the vintage Omega Chronostop from 1974, limited edition to the Italian market. And this is a great example of a watch that is bought vintage and that I got a great deal on. So, buying vintage versus buying new. What are the main differences? First off, let's start with buying new. When you buy new, the watch is currently being made, and I consider vintage anything over 20 years old. So usually when buying a modern piece, they tend to actually be a better watch because the technology is newer, they're built sturdier, the water resistance is better, and a lot of the times they're much more accurate. Also, if you buy from somewhere like an AD, they come with warranties, they're in mint condition, and it's genuinely just less of a hassle and less research. Now, if you buy vintage though, you get a ton of advantages as well. You get the ability to pick up some really cool pieces that are no longer made, some very unique looks, and you can pick up great deals compared to new. But it comes with some downsides. So, if you're buying vintage, you have to pay attention to a few things that don't apply if you're buying new. For example, the dial. Has it been refinished? Has it been repainted? If you're a newbie, you probably won't be able to tell that with just your eyes. Has the watch been serviced? Has it been serviced with original parts? Is it a Frankenwatch, which is a watch made with a bunch of different parts? These are all things that are common in the vintage market. All these things can greatly affect value negatively. The key thing when buying a vintage watch is to make sure that it is 100% original, or as original as possible. So I suggest if you're a new collector, you have to do a ton of research before buying vintage. Which is why my biggest piece of advice, if you're gonna go buy vintage, is buy the seller. Now what does that mean? The seller is key. So, is the seller have good feedback on eBay? Has the seller been doing this for a long time? Is the seller an expert in vintage? All these things matter, because if you don't get exactly what you want, then you can hold someone accountable, and maybe the seller can help you servicing the watch down the line. So you have to find someone who's reliable and who's advertising the watch correctly. Now personally, I can tell if a dial's refinished. Maybe not all dials, but I'm pretty good because I've been handling vintage pieces for a while. But for somebody new, there's a lot of pitfalls. So the biggest piece of advice I can tell you is the seller means everything. But don't let this scare you off, because there can be some great deals in vintage. For example, a very beautiful vintage Datejust can be had for under $2,000, whereas a newish modern example is closer to $5,000 to $6,000. Or something like this, a single push piece chronograph. It wasn't a particularly popular model, so I picked this up for a steal, whereas a single push piece chronograph today probably going to cost you at least $6,000 to $7,000, and I didn't pay anywhere near that for this piece. So as you can see, there's ups and downs, but research is key, not only with modern, but especially with vintage. Be sure you know what you're buying, and be sure that you're looking for the right things. For example, Time Zone is a great resource to catch up on some vintage knowledge. So even though buying vintage is nowhere near as easy as buying new, I think it could be a very rewarding experience. Just don't skimp out on the research. Anyway guys, as I said, it's a short little episode today, but it's a question somebody asked, and I thought it would bring a lot of value to the community to answer it. So anyway guys, thank you for sticking around for another episode of Federico Talks Watches, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.